Thank you for coming on the podcast. Tell me more about yourself and your business.
So my name's Shulman, and I appreciate you having me. It's really fun to be here. And I'm building really three products and services under kind of one umbrella called Orbit. And day to day, I'm mainly focused on Orbit marketing. So we have Orbit Metrics, which is what we started first. And I have two business partners. So that's the three of us are kind of the collective we I refer to. And then obviously a team of a lot of people that help us with a lot of things. And Orbit Metrics, we do BI as a service. So kind of at the most sophisticated level, a fractional chief data officer for companies who don't have someone thinking about their data in a meaningful way. That almost always is marketing data. And so more often than not, we're working with e-commerce brands doing a couple $1 million a year in ad spend. When you're spending at that level, tiny improvements in your data, tiny insights make a lot of money. And so that's what we do for them. Then Orbit Marketing is a very traditional content marketing agency. The main service or deliverable that we provide for people are weekly newsletters. So I tend to believe that every business should have at least some presence over email, but an overwhelming quantity of businesses do absolutely nothing with the channel and just let the list collect dust. I believe that's a mistake. And simply sending one email a week to your list is usually a smart business move. And so we offer that as a done for you service. And then Orbit Flows is our, as you could call it, most like sexy, interesting business. That's the software that we built. It was initially an internal tool that helped myself and my writers produce all of our content for all of our newsletter clients. And then about a year ago, maybe not a year ago, 10, 11 months ago, we spun it off as its own service. So several clients said, hey, this is great. I'd prefer to write the newsletter myself. And we said, here you go. This is the exact tool that we were using that makes it as easy as possible for us to get the best possible output from AI. I still have about 6 human writers on my team that do review everything and the strategy and are the ones using the tools, but it is a do-it-yourself option on the content marketing side. And so a lot of people use it for newsletters, and we can get into this in a bit in terms of, some of the questions you told me to think about were like challenges, and some of those things are, a writing tool is kind of useful for writing anything because like, what does it mean to write a newsletter? So it is a bit of a general purpose writing tool, but we mainly target people using it for newsletters.
Have you always been an entrepreneur? Where did you start?
I'd say the answer is yes. One of my business partners, the one who started Orbit Metrics. So he started Orbit Metrics on the side when he had a full-time job. And then I came in to help him in the first couple of months. And so I technically went full-time with him first. And him and I met in 5th grade when we were 10. And yeah, we had we sold wallets in middle school. Like we had hustles since, 15, 16 years ago. I'd say both of us in high school really just focused on like academics and stuff. But then in college, we did entrepreneurship again, like started businesses together. And so we've definitely had a very long through line. It was not just a spontaneous thing. We kind of had always intended to run a business and glad that it worked out to run one together.
How old are you and how long have you been doing this?
I'm 26. He's also 26. And we started Orbit. He incorporated it Valentine's Day of 2022. So very exciting Valentine's Day. And so 3.5 years.
Are you a co-founder or a partner, shareholder?
Yeah, co-founder. We're all three of us are equal partners in all three of the ventures.
Brilliant. It's rare to find co-founders that you connect with, let alone decide to build another business with. There's a lot of camaraderie and cohesion and kind of almost group therapy that you need to get through.
Every week.
So congratulations on that.
I'd say we do it often. So rather than letting it accumulate, and it's like forest fires, right? You have a small one every week rather than a huge one once a year. And a lot of people can't survive a huge one once a year because then that's just too much accumulated frustration. So we just do a little bit every single day. And it's just healthy.
How big's your team? How big's your team now?
We are so I think full-time W-2s are about 15, including the three of us between all three projects. And then, we have a fractional HR person, a fractional CFO type person. A few people are still contractors that just don't quite have full-time roles. But in terms of people billing or tracking, at least we track time pretty diligently, even for people who don't bill time and even for people who don't pay hourly. I'd say there's at least 14 people tracking 30 hours a week every week. And then some weeks as high as like 18.
And where do you see yourself spending most of your time? Is it on sales? Is it on operations? Running a business? Driving growth?
I'm almost 100% focused just on the content marketing agency, at least in this season, for this quarter, for last quarter, and likely for next quarter. And I'm split between what we'd like to do. So we write weekly newsletters for a lot of businesses. A lot of businesses have enough potential energy where just by writing a weekly email, they're going to get a positive return on their investment in the services. They've got a big enough list. They have existing lead flow. They sell their services for enough money where there's enough like low hanging fruit that just by like suddenly reminding people consistently that you exist equals a good opportunity for them. But a lot of businesses don't have that, where it's like just starting a weekly newsletter for them would not actually do anything profitable because they don't have lead flow. They don't have a big enough existing distribution. And so I've been working on the product, if you will, of building out our additional lead generation arm to get net new subscribers on their lists. And so that would kind of be a graduation from a content marketing agency, right, which isn't really selling an outcome as much as it is selling a deliverable. It's like the promise is we will write you a really good weekly newsletter right now. More or less, it's out of our hands as to does it drive sales. We do everything we can, checking open rates, split testing, the click-through rates, and evaluating which calls to action and which ads for your services within your own newsletters are getting replies and engagement. But in terms of the outside world, we're not a lead generation agency, in my opinion, until we're also responsible for generating net new leads, not just converting leads that you may already have. And so I'm really focused on still stacking traditional newsletter clients. They're humble retainers, and it's like brick by brick makes us stronger. And then I'm also working on building out our own internal competency for just paid advertising to help people also get net new lead flow, because that's the biggest determinant in success. So that's about 50-50, working with a few people to build that out and build that competency and make it rock solid, because you don't want to sell something until you're really rock solid at it. Or if you do, you want to sell it for a very small amount of money and really make it very straightforward that this isn't beta, and set low expectations so that you have some buffer. If you're like, we're probably going to make mistakes, and so we're going to charge you a lot less money. And that's what you do when a service is new. Our newsletters, they're rock solid. We've done hundreds of them. Goes off without a hitch every week like clockwork. It's a factory. Now, this new thing, still in R&D, but it's great to have real customers in the mix as well. So that's what I'm working on mostly.
That's a natural evolution, and to move from the agency model into a productized model. It's something I've seen time and time again over my career. But what are the typical customers? Who really benefits from? So, for example, would a HVAC company benefit from emailing their clients with thought leadership or knowing what new HVAC technologies there are? Is that the typical type of customer, or is it a SaaS company? Who are the ones that truly benefit from these?
I would split that into two categories, really. There's who do we work with most often, right? Who have we chosen to work with? Who are we actually prospecting new business with? And then there's who should send weekly emails, and how do I think about marketing and strategy, really in theory, in the abstract. Marketing is just relationships at scale is one lens to view with marketing. And so if you think about who's the business and who are the people receiving the emails and what is the relationship between them, and does it make sense based on the nature of this relationship to send what type of emails? Again, one-on-one with a friend, would it make sense for you to send this random friend HVAC updates? What is the promise to the reader? What is the expectations? What is the dynamic of the relationship? It makes sense, in my opinion, to I would say someone like HVAC, your customers don't really have much interest. What are the concerns? What are the objections someone has to working with an HVAC company, right? It's probably pretty straightforward. It's are you credible, and is the service at a fair price? There's certain things of hey, you may not have known. I would probably not talk much about HVAC in an HVAC newsletter per se. I'd probably just do local news related to that market of here's interesting things happening in the community, things you should know, home maintenance tips related to that season, and then just kind of gently plug your services, your credibility, your testimonials, your offers, your promotions. Because it's not much thought leadership you need to demonstrate besides maybe gentle things about the broad topic of home maintenance. Whereas for where we work is mostly on services, mostly knowledge services, where the main factors are people are really considering the expertise. They're skeptical, right? People rarely doubt that an HVAC company can actually do the HVAC stuff. And so there's not much skepticism around, are you actually able to fix my air conditioner? Or it's just more deterministic, the problems. Whereas we mostly work with services where, especially other agencies, where people have had so many bad experiences hiring consultants, hiring coaches, hiring vendors in industries like marketing and in coaching, or even in accounting and CFO services. And so a lot of it is just demonstrating your expertise and building awareness and staying top of mind, such that a lot of people aren't in market right away. I have a CFO right now, I'm happy with them. Maybe 6 months later, I'm not. Who's the CFO I'm thinking of next, right? I have a marketing agency right now. I'm fully tapped out of my vendors. Oh, suddenly I have budget. Who am I thinking of? And so there's a few dimensions to it, but ultimately in terms of simplifying reality into like all of the things that you could be doing and every potential strategy, it's very, very easy to have a complicated marketing plan where you're just drowning in your own complexity. And I think the kind of antidote to that is just send one email once a week to everybody. And that is like the catch-all 80-20 majority of the benefits, cost benefit that like is a positive trade-off for most business owners. And so we tend to insert ourselves there rather than doing everything we could possibly do and overcomplicating things for
Is
diminishing returns.
is email still a channel that you should rely on, given that so many people get so many newsletters, so many updates? What are you seeing in terms of trends when you start emailing a list initially? Do you get the engagement? Do people open it up? How do you solve for some of those things?
Yeah, so we've been in this business now, this email marketing business specifically, more than 2 years. And I really can't say I've seen any massive trend, good or bad, in terms of like email as a platform. Ultimately, it's just like social. Like YouTube's competitive. There's a lot of people on YouTube. There's a lot of people on LinkedIn. There's a lot of people on Instagram. And if your content is relevant and interesting, it's relevant and interesting. I think it stayed more or less fairly flat in terms of like the amount of competition because so many people drop off because they get too busy or they give up or people just unsubscribe from things that they don't want. Like most people only care about a handful of things in a given point in time. So I still read, religiously a dozen or so newsletters at a time, but that dozen is constantly rotating. So it's based on what problems I have, either personally or professionally, like what goals I'm trying to achieve in business. Like, 5 years ago, it was all these newsletters about how to get your first customer. Now I don't really care about those, right? But those are still doing great for people who are in that like psychographic group of like trying to get their first customer. It's kind of a classic marketing statement from David Ogilvy, right? That you're not advertising to a standing army, you're advertising to a moving parade. So as long as your market, being that moving parade, is still there's new people coming in and out. Just like if I had a newsletter about what to do with your newborn child, right? That's only relevant for people for like 1 to 2 years, but there's a new wave of people every couple of weeks entering and exiting that cohort. And so that's how most of our businesses are, or most businesses operate.
So you're catching the people who have the need at that point. They'll subscribe for a moment, and and as they churn out, it might be a natural churn, but at least it's a channel that provides, as opposed to a list that collects dust.
Exactly. I think it's important to remember the lens of it's just a relationship, right? What is the relationship that the business has with the either customer or potential customer? And your goal is not to keep someone on your list forever. Because again, I don't keep in touch with like my tennis instructors because I don't like play tennis anymore. So I don't have a reason to be on their list. And so your concern is, are the people who still make sense to retain on your list, retaining on your list and engaging with your content, right? It's not about the vanity, total quantity of opens, total open rate. It's about of the people who are my warm prospects or the people, my VIP customers or VIP prospects, does this still retain them? Do they still open it? Have I given the people who are still in my target market, do they still care about what I'm doing? And those stay fairly strong because people still read their emails.
Well, that's a lot of insight, Lois. And in fact, it was a specific type of lens that I haven't even been taking consideration of, because my whole life has been focused on scaling and growth, and every channel had to compound as opposed to stay static. But if you have a finite capacity of dental chairs in your dental office, there's only so many people that you can serve, and that's a viable channel, even if it's transient.
Exactly. Every channel's transient because the relationship with the customer and the business is transient.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, for your insights.
Thank you very much.